Hi, Annie. I'm really excited that you're here because I have so many questions.
Thank you for having me. I hope I can answer all of them.
I want to dive deep into the clean beauty movement and Credo and really the impact it has had on this industry. But I do kind of first want to talk a little bit about your experience in the beauty world. You started at 19.
Yes. And I'm still
I
here.
what made you decide, hey, I want to get a job with Estee Lauder? I want to, at 19.
Oh my gosh. I mean, how lucky would you be to land a gig like that at 19? Yeah, I honestly, I was okay. So this is not in the time of covered wagons, but really, really close. So, like, think about it. We had no internet. Like, that was back in the time that this is 91 we're talking about. So, back in the time that you answered ads in the paper for jobs. So, I sent out my resume a bunch of places and was literally walking out the door to go interview at a porta potty company as a receptionist. You got to
Wow.
pay the bills, right? And I got a call from someone said, I got your resume. She didn't say where she was from, but the location was very appealing. It was much closer than where this porta potty company was. And I was like, no matter who it is, it can't be another porta potty company. So I'm going to just bail and go to whoever this is. And so I show up and I open the door. It's in like some office park, pretty close to my house. And the first thing I see is a big, huge poster of Paulina Portskova. And I was like, oh my God, where am I? And so it was a little regional office for Estee Lauder, pre 9/11. They had regional offices for all the brands kind of scattered amongst the United States. And that's who would
Wow.
service all of the accounts. And so I worked there as an admin. I was the girl that got the tea and coffee and updated Mr. Lauder's binder before he came to town. And it was an incredible job. And what I lacked in traditional education, I sure made up for in hustle and ambition. And I really, really wanted to succeed there. And they were an incredible company in terms of fostering young people, in terms of growing up in a way to operate as a business person. And I learned a ton there.
So
So
you got a
yeah.
lot of opportunity to grow in there and kind of learn different aspects of the industry.
Oh, for sure. I was probably I think one of their very first, it was a new role, but now they're prevalent everywhere, inventory planners. So I worked for Estee Lauder and actually did more kind of demand planning for the retailers to work with the retail buyers and actually plan out the inventory. That was innovative technology back then. So I did that, and then I promoted to a makeup marketing role in New York, working for the Estee Lauder brand. And what an incredible opportunity.
I mean, did you find that intimidating to go from an associate to inventory to marketing? That's a totally different
Oh,
wheelhouse.
totally. But I really got so very lucky along the way. And I've now tried to pass this forward in my own career with bosses that were great mentors. And they really, like put me under their wing, and they were in part very responsible for allowing me to get these opportunities and get exposure and be invited to external events at Estee Lauder and meet people and advocate on my behalf. And, that's incredible. And I try to do that, here and in my career.
So what I find remarkable is that you start with this fledgling, well, not fledgling, but when you're starting your career, and then you switch to Sephora, which they hadn't even opened a store at that point.
Yeah.
Like, like
My
I
father
I
was
would be
so mad at
terrified.
me. My dad was so mad at me. He wrote me a letter, which has never happened. He wrote me a letter saying, like, basically, what are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you? You have no college education and you've landed this incredible job. Like, you keep your mouth shut and you stay in New York and you do your job. But, I think that was kind of probably the spark and the start of my entrepreneurial spirit. I was like, what is this thing that they're talking about? And what was funny was when I was at Estee Lauder, one of my projects was, I don't know if you remember this or not, but they had started something called color libraries. Do you remember that? Where it
Yes, I
was like, yeah, it
do.
was these like mini little open cell environments where they just took color and, you know, made it accessible and attainable, and you could actually try it and use it. And so funnily enough, you know, Sephora was such a huge catalyst to the US because it was, you know, taking out beauty products from behind the glass, right? Making them very accessible in this cool environment. They had, you know, at that time, the crazy one glove thing and all that stuff. But it's funny because it's kind of like I dipped my toe in the water of that direction, even at Estee Lauder. But yeah.
So
Sephora,
what was the mystique of Sephora that made you, because I mean, obviously you loved Estee Lauder, you loved the experience that you had there. What was the mystique of Sephora that made you go, I need to expand, I need to try something new?
Yeah. You know, I met the people there. One of the people was a man by the name of Shashi Batra, who was the visionary, honestly, behind Credo, and his boss, Steve Bach, who is still a mentor and very great friend to me today. And they were, you know, so dynamic and fun and funny. And the idea and the concept was, it felt a little radical and kind of like breaking the rules. And so I didn't really realize it at the time, but all of that really played into, you know, who I was shaping up to be. And honestly, to be honest, it was in San Francisco. It was home. And so,
Well, there's that.
yeah, so that was also a big part of it. But I mean, what a wild ride that was. I mean, we were all young kids traveling the globe, you know, building these incredible stores, talking to brands. It was an incredible experience.
So from there, you did go on to being a co-founder of Credo. Now,
Yeah.
I find that, again, really fascinating that, I mean, you just kind of went from thing. In many ways, Credo, I can understand it almost has kind of like parallels with Sephora and that, you know, radicalism that you can go into that. But I kind of feel as though I'm kind of curious at where, because Credo is really a disruptor in our industry. You know, in the long run, that's how I look at it, because it's talking about clean beauty. Whereas opposed to that previously, it was just basically the industry standards. So
Yeah.
what was it about the industry standards or those practices that made you go, hey, you know, this is the route to go. This is the direction that we need to be spearheading.
Yeah. Well, I would say that Shashi and I, honestly, like while we worked together for 2 decades, we didn't have a ton in common as humans. The only thing that we had, and that's honestly why we worked together so amazingly. I mean, he was a total visionary and I just got out there behind him and got it all done. And so we worked so well together. But I will say, like, the common thread between both of us is we were both kind of I guess we both suffer from a David and Goliath concept, like, or idea is that, like, we want to do something different. And at the time, Sephora was that, right? Like, it pissed off a bunch of people, made a bunch of retailers really mad. Like, who do you guys think you are? That was so fun. I mean, that was a really fun part of it. And so, and brands took notice, like, what are you guys trying to do? You're never going to beat Macy's and Nordstrom and Neiman's and Saks. Well, guess what? So I think we really enjoyed that. And so there was part of that with Credo. But I think, you know, the real practical answer is, for 2 years, Shashi called me with the kind of very general concept of this idea that he had. And honestly, I wasn't very interested. I'd been in beauty my whole career. I felt like I was kind of ready for some sort of a change. It wasn't resonating with me in the way where I was like, oh my God, what an idea. So it wasn't until, you know, I had gone back to Sephora and was running color merchandising for Sephora inside JCPenney. And such a great group of people, really great experience. But I was kind of ready to, you know, just take a year off, honestly, and be with my kids and, you know, regroup and figure out what my next move was going to be. And it's then that he called me, and he probably caught me at a great moment where I was just starting to get bored. And, you know, I said, okay, so let's just talk about this a little. It sounds kind of interesting, but, you know, it seems like you need to have a standard or something so people can understand why we're different. And then even harder, you have to make sure we can find brands that actually fit that standard. And there's enough of them that we can fill a store. So I said, I'm kind of bored at this point. So why don't I do some sniffing around and see what we can see? Because the concept was always, not a hippie play, not a new natural food store. It was taking customers that had Kiehl's, MAC, NARS, Makeup Forever in their makeup bag and converting them. That's a pretty tall order. You have to have modern formulas, efficacy, awesome components. So this was not like, crunchy natural products 2.0. This was like a whole different play. So it was then really that I decided, oh my God, I think this guy is really onto something, because I went to Whole Foods with my phone and put the Think Dirty app on my phone. And, it's like anything, one thing leads to another, and you start learning more and educating yourself. And I think the big aha for me was that I had dedicated my whole career to conventional beauty, talking about color payoff and product performance and launch dates. And never once did we ever say, what is in this stuff? And like, what is it? Is it safe for humans? I think everyone just assumes everyone's watching out for them, or there's someone behind some curtain that is assessing products for safety. But guess what, Danielle, you can create a product tomorrow and put it on a shelf and start selling it without having, been required to do any basic safety testing. And that was, like, to me as a mom, a big learning curve. Like it slapped me in the face.
That's actually very stunning. And I think that most consumers don't realize that. Most consumers
I
think
didn't.
that
And I
there
was from
are
beauty.
absolute standards. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't find that out until I was in the beauty industry, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was a little bit alarming.
Yeah. Very.
But with that being said, I mean, we're exposed every day to all kinds of chemicals and environmental factors and whatnot. So aside from obviously the ecological impact, that's a huge one, and I'm all for that. Really, is there a truly measurable difference in the health when you're choosing clean products over something that might be more just, throwing it out there? I mean, it seems like an obvious question simply because there doesn't seem to be as much regulation. But I mean, have you really seen the difference?
Well, I will answer it this way because, I definitely don't subscribe to, we're not afraid of chemicals. We certainly don't, we don't ask our customers to be afraid of chemicals. If you look at the issues out there in the world, water and air pollution are much bigger issues that we should be concerned about, to be honest. But I am in beauty. And the real answer is there's better options out there for people. So why not use them? I think the distinction is, and the kind of like the murmur about clean beauty in certain circles is that, what is it really? And, it's just a bunch of, elitist people trying to make products that are masked to be better. Well, Credo's worked really, really hard to have a standard that's digestible and very clear about where we stand. I mean, certainly there's products out there that are out there in many different kinds of retailers with a green leaf on it, basically wanting the customer to believe it's better or created healthier or assessed for safety. But, we have gone to great lengths to actually have a restricted substance list and have a 27-page long standard that says not only is it about a restricted substance list, it's about operationalizing this, about how you should run your business. I mean, beauty has been unchanged for, over 100 years, nothing's happened. So why does this one segment, when people are trying to actually run an ethical company, really source safe and sustainable ingredients and be very transparent about all that, create such a fuss?
It's like such a
what
radical
is the
concept.
problem? It's like the argument I make is, okay, and I don't agree with people that say, oh, if you say you're clean, then everybody else is dirty. Okay, well, if you're in the laundry detergent aisle and the laundry detergent you're looking at says the freshest ever, does that mean everything else isn't? I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's just a way to actually distinguish people that have raised their hand and said, as a founder, I'm actually going to work very closely with my contract manufacturer and understand all the ingredients in my products, how they're sourced, how they're vetted for safety, why they're even in there in the first place, not hide anything behind any words that customers can't see what's actually in the product. I'm going to assess materials that I'm using in packaging and understand the impact on the planet. And that's all it is people that are saying, I'm trying to be a better steward of human health and the planet's health to create a brand. And so why
it's just
so much ruckus?
having the people that are creating these products for us to have a conscience.
Yeah. I mean, we're
Go
not
figure. It is a radical idea.
Listen, we're not bashing any brands. We don't disparage brands. We love our conventional brand partners. We have run wonderful relationships with them. We have very robust intellectual conversations with them about how we can help them if they're trying to make positive steps towards change, because now we all know more, how we can help them do that. So I think, everyone, that is kind of buzzing around there about clean beauty and it doesn't mean anything. Tell me right now what word or adjective used in beauty actually has a legal definition besides organic. Not a lot.
It doesn't. It doesn't, which actually brings back to, because I also see this often in products. Like, could you give a little bit clearer definition, and maybe you can't, I'm not sure, between clean and natural? Because I do find that a lot of companies are also saying, oh, it's all natural.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also scary. They're not synonymous. So we are not saying we're all natural. I mean, arsenic is natural, and we're not saying we're anti-synthetic. We are about safe chemicals, and that's all it is. It's about, being very transparent about the ingredients people are using, and that they should be in there and they have a reason to be in there, and that they are not questionable towards human health or the product's end of life and how it impacts the environment. So, all natural, 100% natural, because there's no legal definition out there for natural.
No.
Natural is
again, I only found that out not long ago.
Yeah. So natural is a banana. So, we had a class action lawsuit against us in 2017, which is very unusual. Typically a plaintiff will go to a brand, but they wanted to go to several brands that were using the term 100% natural. And the reason they were using that term was because all of the ingredients they were sourcing were plant-derived ingredients, plants. And then they were taking these plants and formulating it in a lab. And that's exactly what happened, is once you take it and you formulate it into something different, it's really no longer natural. And so they weren't doing it intentionally. It's just lack of regulation. They didn't know any different. And so we didn't really have an argument to stand by. And that was a big learning for all of us. But, I always share that story transparently because, it's the Wild West out there. And there's not a lot of regulation or people minding, how they actually, market their brand and label their products and back up claims. So that's the impetus for the Credo Clean Standard. It's beyond a restricted substance list.
So here's the next thing that I hear from people when we're talking about clean beauty. It's very interesting because I personally, admittedly, I don't necessarily search it out, but when I find it, I go, oh, okay. But usually it's the efficacy that a lot of people are looking for. Their first concern is, does it work? Does it work as good as my conventional brand? What do you find with the change of ingredients? Do you feel as though that they're comparable, or do you feel as though they might work better?
I would say when we first started Credo, our first store opening was San Francisco, Fillmore Street in 2015. We had 60 brands. And today we have about 135, and that's kind of our max. We don't want to have more. And of those 60 brands, we probably still carry about maybe less than 10. And that's because of that very question that you just asked is, 2015 honestly wasn't that long ago, because 2020 went on for 500 years. It seems like it was a really long time ago, but the speed of innovation and product formulation that has happened, I have never seen the likes of in all my years as a merchant. If I think back onto the brands that we carried there and what their products were like and what we're seeing today, it's bananas. It's so exciting. It's hard as a merchant because literally we get 60, we were reckoning we got about 65 brand submissions a month. 60 of them are beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's bananas. I mean, it's not because I just want to make the following public announcement. If we say no to you, it's not because your brand isn't amazing and lovely. We have only our little four walls, but people are creating incredible products out there today.
I mean, and the more commonplace it becomes, I guess, the more experimentation, the more expansion that you can do. It only seems logical.
Well, the
And
one that
I
was
also,
lagging was color. You know, that was the one that was way behind. Skincare back in 2015. To be totally honest, when we started Credo, we wanted to have a private label skincare brand. But very early on, we were saying, as we were seeing these brands come across my desk, I was like, nothing we're going to do is any better than what these guys are doing. So why bother? Like, let's just, you know, create this awesome platform for these guys and go for it. But color really didn't kick into gear in terms of product development and real innovation until like back half of 2019.
and what standouts do you find from the color?
Oh my God, like Ilia, Kosas, Vapor, they're all doing incredible things. I mean, you saw Bobbi Brown just launched her own brand, Jones Road, which is amazing. And so I think the change is really the fact that contract manufacturers finally started to wake up and say, oh no, you know, we're going to lose a tremendous amount of market share because this is not just a niche passing thing. This is actually where the industry is headed in terms of better product formulation. So we better get with the program. And so that's what I think happened is, you know, there's just better options out there for people.
I would imagine there are a lot of big companies that have been around for a very long time that are slowly but surely converting. Have you witnessed that?
I think, you know, we have a partnership with Ulta that we launched last October, which has been incredible. But I think what's awesome about that in like kind of a more higher expression is that we're in an environment like an Ulta, the largest retailer of beauty in the United States, having conversations like that. And I think they're all really productive conversations. And it's brands, if brands ever had an inkling of like, I want to change my packaging to better materials, but I just can't because there's no source, there's no suppliers, there's no this, there's no that. Things are changing. And, you know, you really have to, like, we are a resource and we want to be a resource for people because our goal is not to keep us just under Credo, lock and key and keep it all to ourselves. Like, we're here to make positive change in the beauty industry. And, you know, that's really what it's about. So I think that Ulta relationship has really been a big part of kind of making it more collaborative within the conventional beauty space and just saying, hey, like, we come here waving a white flag. Like, we are here to just bring more awareness to the space and start having those conversations.
So let's pretend for a second. Well, it's me. So I'm delving into clean beauty because like I said, it always seems to be for me. I happen to pick something up, I'm interested, and I happen to see that as clean beauty. But let's say I want to actually more aggressively look for something and you know, maybe not change everything I do, but like start.
Yeah.
What would be the go-to items that you think are like the fundamental, these are the things that would make the biggest difference in skincare, makeup, whatever it may be, that you feel that is like those things that grab you and go, okay, no, I want to stick with this.
Yeah, I think, you know, well, I think the poster children for the space and where most customers like you are saying like, okay, you know, maybe when I finish my deodorant, I'll try one of these and see if they actually work. I would say the most common are deodorant, shampoo,
Interesting.
conditioner.
I did not expect that.
Well, if you think about it though, like if you think about even the shampoo space in mass, like, you know, well beyond Credo and the rest of our peers in the space, shampoo started to talk about sulfates and started to like kind of raise that awareness in a customer's mind about sulfates. And so they kind of became the poster child of like, you know, kind of raising customers' awareness about certain chemicals used in products. Deodorant, of course, with aluminum, and that's a very controversial hot topic, but you know, aluminum being a potentially harmful chemical. So, you know, deodorants is a massively huge space for clean beauty. It's crazy. We can launch I don't even know how many deodorants we have at this point, but all we do is when we add one, it just continues to grow the category and not cannibalize anything. It's nuts. But lipstick, sun protection, and mascara, those are like the most common, we call them, kind of the gateways to clean beauty.
That's so fascinating, because I would have thought it would have been like skincare. I don't know why, because when I have to admit, whenever I use skincare that has more clean ingredients, I really enjoy it. Doesn't have all the fancy schmancy stuff that are out there, but I always enjoy the more clean moisturizers.
I think it's changed, honestly. And that was kind of, back when people were more like, I don't know about clean beauty, and I don't think it really works. And I guess if I'm going to give it a try, I'll try sunscreen, because I hear chemical sunscreens are scary and bad for the coral reefs and all that. So that was probably like 3 years ago. How things have changed is, there's more awareness now. Credo's been around longer, detox market, full lane, all of our friends out there, kind of marching to a similar drumbeat. And so it's made it more aware, and it's made it more mainstream. And the reason you would choose skincare is because the products have become so efficacious. And they have actually, all these brands today, I think, stand up to their conventional counterparts without question. Absolutely. I think if we were talking 2 years ago, I'd say color has a long way to go, but that's all changed too. It's really crazy the speed at which product development has hustled to make change here.
I kind of like rewind a little bit, because you were talking about the deodorant and talking about aluminum in some products, and that it's a little bit controversial. I'm kind of curious and of course this is speculation, but I'm kind of curious of what your thoughts are as to why certain companies continue to produce these kinds of products that have these ingredients that are known issues. If there are replaceables, is it a money thing, or is it just, I don't know. It makes me curious.
I can't speak to any particular company, but I would say that efficacy is probably the big number one, followed by cost. So, I think clean beauty gets bashed, rightly so, for being a little bit more expensive. But if you think about the ecosystem out there, these are smaller brands sourcing very high quality ingredients and, going to great expense and resource and time to create these products. You've got big beauty out there. They're not paying the bills through formulating products that way,
Well, much like any industry, the more that it is, the more people that are using it, the more there's going to be a conversion, right?
Of course. Cars, one car company can use the same chassis. They just kind of change things around. That's big beauty, really. So, you don't really kind of create scale and get better margins by starting to eliminate ingredients and reformulate products that have been around forever. So that's the hard part. I think L'Oreal's done amazing things in terms of really being at the forefront of packaging and actually taking great strides in terms of having a roadmap for people to say what changes in packaging they're going to make, and just kind of taking their customer along for the ride. And I think everyone's behavior like that in the space, it just lifts all boats, because it makes people take notice and say, wow, okay, if this is happening over there, and you've got big mass retailers like Target and CVS committed to putting safer products on their shelves, and having chemicals of concern that they actually identify, this is not going away. We are definitely, you've got a consumer out there that is hungry for information and knowledge and wants to feel like she has made a decision based on, aligning with someone's values and being really clear on what's in the product and then choosing to buy. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
So knowing that Credo has been going on this path, and from an outside perspective, it does seem as though the industry is very slowly but surely making that turn. They're slowly making it. So as this happens, and let's say, it becomes more conventional, there's more people doing that. What will be your next radical thought?
Oh my God.
What's going to be your next radical? I'm going to go after this.
Danielle, this
seems to be your career here. This is your trajectory. You're going to be moving on to the next.
Well, what's that phrase everyone's heard? Innovate or die. I mean, we're always like moving on to the next thing. Cause I mean, the thing is in this space, we have so much cleanup to do and it's not fun to talk about. It's not sexy. It's not cool. It doesn't happen overnight. So for us, our next move is definitely packaging. I think, we started out with a bunch of brands conscientiously formulating products, but the real disconnect was, you can have a great, beautiful product all sourced by amazing plants and talk about all the great things it'll do for your skin in virgin plastic. Like that just wasn't doing anybody any favors. So we will from now for years to come be tackling the packaging problem and like that kind of disconnect between what's in the bottle and how it's packaged. So June 1st, actually, just a few days ago, we eliminated all single use. So that's huge in beauty. So you can't get little sachet sample packets thrown at you as you're checking out of credobeauty.com anymore. Little Credo generated 660,000 of those suckers last year alone that will never, ever, ever leave this planet. Like let that
So I'm
sink
kind
in.
of knowing how, a lot of these industries work, a lot of it has to do with someone trying and then they buy it. How do you kind of leap over that hurdle now?
Well, I think COVID taught us a lot, honestly. So having all of our stores shut overnight for 4 months, we learned that our digital business, much like many people in beauty, definitely took on the lion's share of that business. And sampling is never like bespoke, right? Like you can't say like, I'm going to go to Sephora or Ulta and like all these products I want to try, there's going to be an exact match for all those things I want to try. Right? There's not going to be a sample just waiting for you. It's usually just thrown at you and you're like, oh, it's free. Yeah, sure. I'll try it.
Or it's something that everybody can touch. And now that's not even a thing.
Exactly. So, so what we learned from that was, our return rate didn't go up and people were still trying products and buying them based on how we described them or through live chat through our Credo Live portal. And so we wanted to take that learning and actually apply it to stores and say, let's educate our team, spend more time on product education and actually describe the products more. In store, though, we have replaced our virgin plastic little jar that if you walked in and said, oh, I want to try this cleanser, can you give me a little sample size? We would have used to have drammed it into a little virgin plastic clamshell and off you would go and say, oh, I actually do like that. I'm going to buy it now. Now we give you a little jar that's made of upcycled green tea leaves that you can use for 3 years. You can throw it in your dishwasher. You can use it for travel and actually have a more sustainable option and still try products.
That's amazing. I love that. And I actually, to tag on to your live chat, those are consultants, aren't they?
Those are our people. So we have, you're either talking to someone in the store or we have a whole separate team of about 9 people. We call them the Credo Dream Team that are either past employees that used to work in a store or they are people that are just like stay-at-home moms that have been in beauty that we knew that we've trained and they just want, a little side gig.
That's
fantastic.
Really cool. So in other words, if we have a lot of people that have questions about clean beauty and which way to go and what direction to go, those are the people to talk to.
Yeah. I mean, you're oftentimes talking to either, or sometimes both, a licensed esthetician and or a makeup artist. So you're getting like a real skin consultation from an expert. And we spend a tremendous amount of time on education. So they should be experts and a resource to our customers in terms of ingredients, formulations, skin physiology, all of it.
Well, I was creeping on your website and I saw it. So when you mentioned, I was like, oh, I was a little shy. I didn't go on there and start asking questions, but now I will.
Yeah, I do. It's a huge business. And honestly, it kept the majority of our workforce employed during that terrible time of 2020 when all the stores were closed. So it was a lifesaver.
That is incredible. Well, it has been such a joy talking to you. And I feel like I learned so much more about clean beauty. And a little bit about tenacity. I feel like I feel a little bit energized right now, like career-wise. I'm like, I think, okay, let's go after some stuff. Let's
yeah, baby.
power
That's
to you.
the
That's really
the
awesome.
spirit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.